Countless essays and articles have appeared all over the world. Author of numerous hard-hitting books and professor of media, culture, and communication at New York University, RT is sitting down with Mark Crispin Miller. Sir, thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
My first question to you is, I would like you to describe your assessment of the mainstream American media. How do you see it? Where do you stand?
I stand as far away from it as I possibly can. It seems to me that our media system is a disgrace. I think we have the worst mainstream news in the developed world, and the quality of non-journalistic material is for the most part embarrassingly low. What we have now, to be blunt, is a cartel. We have a system that's owned and dominated by a handful of huge corporations, which are saddled with a lot of debt. So what they tend to do is cut costs wherever possible, and at the same time to go for the kind of material that they think will sell the most and the quickest. You've got a lot of fluff, you've got a lot of celebrity stories, you've got a lot of sort of trivial stories that are based on some hot piece of video. You've basically got a news system that resembles sort of the worst aspects of the internet, you see. And that's simply because it's profit-driven, advertising-based, and controlled. Again, this is the important, probably the most important factor. It's controlled by a handful of enormous commercial entities that are very close to our government, and that's not good for democracy.
How informed do you feel Americans are right now?
Well, Americans are woefully uninformed, and it's not because they don't want to be informed. If you go out and talk to people nationwide, you'll discover that a lot of people really are concerned about what's happening, right, with the economy, with the wars we're fighting, and so on. That people are a lot smarter than you would think, simply from judging the spectacle that everybody is exposed to. See, now, I have nothing against entertainment. I mean, entertainment is vital, right? People have to be amused, they have to be gripped by good narrative and so on. And there's some entertainment out there, that I watch that I absolutely love. I'm a big Lost fan, for example. I mean, there are things that I love. But there's a very close relationship between the low quality of a lot of entertainment, right, which is derivative and sensationalistic and often, gross. There's a close relationship between the low quality of that stuff and the low quality of our journalism.
Do you feel it's fair to blame the media for not informing the viewer well enough? Shouldn't it be more of an individual responsibility of sorts, that you owe it to yourself to stay informed, to be informed, and to get all the information you're not actually being told?
Well, that's a reasonable question, but people don't know what they don't know. Do you follow me? We're a consumer culture, right? So people are raised here basically to do one thing, and that's shop, if they can afford it, okay? It's not so easy anymore. If people are used to a kind of paper-thin, lightweight, completely distorted news coverage, if that's all they see everywhere they look, no matter how many cable channels they have, right? If that's what they see across the board on the newsstands and so on, they're going to figure, well, that's what's out there, that's all there is.
Now let me ask you, what do you think was the biggest story that was hidden from the people over the last years? What was the biggest lie?
I think the biggest scandal of the last decade, and the biggest scandal in our history, is the subversion of our voting system. We have an absolutely preposterous voting system that's based on computerized voting, using machines that are very, very easily hacked and highly insecure.
One of your books is called Loser Take All: Election Fraud and Subversion of Democracy, 2000 to 2008. Does that mean you actually believe that Obama's victory was somehow fraudulent?
No, there's a lot of evidence about the 2008 election as well, and what it tells us is that Obama actually won that election by about 7 to 9 million more votes than we think. He won overwhelmingly. It was a landslide, but the press and the Democrats too have interpreted it merely as a decisive victory. Primarily because they're blind to the evidence of all those votes that he would have gotten if the system were honest. The political establishment in this country simply does not want to know about this. If they do know about it, they don't want anybody else talking about it.
I also want to talk to you about propaganda, which you focus on extensively in your work. How relevant do you think this issue is for modern-day America?
It's completely relevant. It couldn't be more relevant, because when you have a media system that has been captured by private interests, the media system becomes nothing but a conduit, a medium for propaganda. Advertising and propaganda, on the one hand, are antithetical to real journalism on the other, which is not trying to persuade people to a particular position or action. It's trying to tell you what's going on. And in a democracy, people have to have access to, accurate, unbiased information in order to make reasonable decisions. Well, that kind of thing is anathema to big advertisers, right?
How would you describe the relationship between the media and the political elite in Washington, D.C.?
Well,
is there one?
There's a very close relationship between the media and the political elite, because there's a very close relationship between the corporate elite and the political elite. I mean, where's the dividing line? I'm not exactly sure. Let me give you an example. This is a fascinating one, okay? Everybody in the world knows that John Edwards had a messy affair and that his marriage has fallen apart. Very few people know that Sarah Palin had an affair and that her marriage has fallen apart. Now, why is it that the media seized on John Edwards' affair and it continues even now? Even though he's out of politics, they continue even now to go after him and to play this up. But why not Sarah Palin, who was running for president, right? And running for president as a Christian paragon of domestic morality, okay? Well, the reason is really quite simple. John Edwards made the corporate elites nervous because his economic policies were a little too populist. That, in a nutshell, explains why the media has gone after him and has left her alone, because as far as their superiors are concerned, she's a little stupid, she's kind of embarrassing, she's a bit extreme, but she's someone they could conceivably work with despite all that. So it's a very interesting double standard, isn't it?
The media did seem to go after her for pretty much everything else, didn't they?
No, the media did not go after her for anything substantive. The media went after her, for example, because she didn't know what the Bush Doctrine was, right? In other words, she blew a televisual moment. But I saw nothing in the mainstream media about, for example, her radical theocratic worldview. That there's footage right on the internet of some kind of witch-killing cleric from Africa actually blessing her in her church at a special ceremony. This is right online, right? I never saw any reporting on her theocratic politics, which I think are far more dangerous, right, than her failure to give Katie Couric a good answer. What's